Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hybris Tube. After watching the 9 videos on WCMS, guys, I believe you all have a strong understanding of creation of custom CMS pages and custom CMS components. So today we are taking it a step further by exploring a very practical and advanced topic, which is SAP Hybris email flow. So in this session, guys, we will create a standard email flow using the concepts we have already covered in the WCMS series. So by the end of this video, guys, you will be able to implement an email flow in Hybris, effectively combining your knowledge of WCMS events and business process concepts. So I have already made a video on this topic before long time back, but due to the recent changes like Gmail has stopped giving support for the less secured apps feature and updates in the recent Hybris framework. So I thought of creating a fresh, detailed, and practical video on this topic again. So this video will cover the complete email flow architecture with step-by-step implementation, which you can use directly in your project work. So what are the topics we are going to cover in this video? We will start this video with a demo of quick preview of the email sender flow which we are going to create in this video. Then, guys, we will move to the key concepts and the terminologies, which includes events and event listeners. We will see what are the events, what are the event listeners, right, and what are their role in the asynchronous processing. Then, guys, we will also see the business process flow, why it is recommended for creating the email flows, why it is recommended that you should use the business process concept for creating the email flow in Hybris. We will see this part. Then, guys, we will also see what are the VM files, right? And we have already seen what are JSP and tag files. So in this section, we will see what are the differences between the VM files, JSP and tag files, and where we use the VM file and where we use the JSP file, and in which case we use the tag file. We will also see what are context classes, why it is essential for email configuration. So in this section, we will learn about the context classes in detail, right? Then, guys, we will see the detailed architecture, right? Where we will see the complete Hybris email flow using a diagram, which will tell you how the whole flow works, right? From the controller to the facade, then from events to event listeners, and then how the business processes come into the picture, and finally email is sent to the end user. We will see the whole flow using a diagram, right? And guys, finally we will also see how we can configure the Gmail SMTP as per the latest recommendations from the Google. So we will see how you can set up the Gmail as the SMTP server. And then, guys, finally, in the later part of this video, we will start creating the end-to-end implementation of this whole SAP Hybris email flow. For that, we will create a custom WCMS page for the email input in which multiple attributes will be displayed. What are those multiple attributes? So the first attribute will be the from name, in which we will be capturing the name of the sender which we want to present to the receiver. Doesn't matter what is the account name of the sender. If we want to present a custom name to the receiver, or a custom sender name to the receiver, we can configure, and for that we are capturing this from name, right? Then second is the reply email. Once the receiver receives this email, and if he clicks on the reply button, right, if we want to customize another email, that receiver should send the email to this another email, we are capturing that reply email in this field. The third one is the country. It is basically the country of the receiver. Here we are capturing the country of the receiver who will be receiving this email. The fourth one is receiver's title. It is basically the title of the receiver. It is a preloaded a list of titles which we will be loading on the rendering of this custom CMS page. Fourth one is receiver's name. What is the name of the receiver who will be receiving this email? Here we are capturing the receiver name. Next is receiver's email. It is basically the email of the receiver to which this email will be sent out, right? And the next one is receiver phone number. What is phone number of the receiver? We are capturing this detail in this field. Next one is a text area, which is basically a message to a receiver, which is an optional field, right? If we want to send a customized message to the receiver, we can, capture that message in this text area, right? And how the mail will be sent to the receiver, for that there will be a button on this same page, button with the name send email to the receiver, and if user clicks on that button, an email will be sent to the receiver directly, and he will see the sender's name as custom name, as I said, irrespective of the account name from which the email is sent to the receiver. I will explain this more once I will start creating the implementation, right? So on click of button, guys, once you will click on this button send email to the receiver, we will also save this data in a newly created database table. This means we will also create a database table in this whole flow, right? And as I said, we will be using the standard Hybris email approach for creation of the email flow. So we will be implementing the business process flow, we will be creating the custom actions, right? We will be also doing XML configurations for creating this whole email flow from the scratch. And finally, we will end up this video with the testing of the whole flow right after the implementation. So this is a detailed video, and if you watch this video, you will have a complete understanding of the Hybris email flow. And as I said, this video is a mix of multiple Hybris topics. So you will get a flavor of multiple Hybris topics in this video. So you will be using multiple Hybris terminologies, or you will be using multiple Hybris concepts in this video. For example, you will create the JSP, tag files, events, event listeners, content slot for page, VM files, get methods, controller classes, post methods, facades, data modeling concepts, right? You will be using the data modeling concepts also. You will also be creating the process.xml, process spring.xml file. You will also create multiple CMS components like JSP, include components, right? Render templates, default email generation service. So you will be using default email generation service as well, which is out of box class. You will also be creating the email page as one of the CMS component, and then you will also going through the email context factory, right? You will also see how you can start the server and stop the server. You will also see how to perform the system update. Then you will also see what are content slot for templates, email context classes, and how you can create the custom email context classes. So you will have a flavor of all these terminologies or all these hybrid concepts in this video. So guys, let's start with the quick demo of the email sender flow we are going to build. As you can see on the screen, guys, this is the form where the senders and receiver details are entered. Here you can see I have already entered the sender's display name as Hybris Tube demo, which means this is the name which receiver will see, right? And then this is the sender reply email, which means if the receiver will click on reply button, this will be the email which will get populated automatically. This is the country and region of the receiver, and then this is the receiver title, and then this is the receiver name we are entering. I'm saying receiver name is Octube. And then this is the receiver email, which means this is the email on which this whole form will be submitted or sent to. This is the receiver phone number, and this is the message we are going to send to the receiver. Right here you can see this is the same receiver email, and currently in this email box there is no email, right? And here in the back office as well, you can see in the back office we don't have any custom business process currently, right? And in the HSC, this is the table where we will be saving all these details before sending this email. And here you can see in this table we don't have any data currently. Now as soon as I click on this send email to receiver button, as soon as I clicked on this button, you can see email has been sent instantly, right? but in the backend still this process is ongoing, right? And still by the business process this email will be sent. Now you can see at this process or at this place the email is sent to the receiver, right? Now we can check here in this table, you can see the data has been submitted, right? So data has been submitted here as well. We can see there will be one business process, right? So there is one business process which is created over here, and through this business process we have sent the email. And then in the email box as well you can see we have received this email. So you can see we have received this email, and here you can see the name is Hybris Tube Demo, right? So this is the name of the sender we can see over here, right? And then these are the details, like I had sent the messages, hi, welcome to the SAP Commerce Learning, and whatever is the phone number I had entered into the front end form. So the same phone number, same country, and the email address also you can see over here. You can also see the name as Octubes. This is the same name which we had entered in the front end. So I hope this is clear to you. But how I have created this flow, right? How this is working from the back end, I will explain you everything in this video with end to end steps. But guys, just notice one thing, that this email is being sent from octubejava@gmail.com. How this is being sent from octubejava@gmail.com, where I have done this configuration, I will explain you in some time. And this is sent to as well on the same email address, octubejava@gmail.com. But since we have configured here reply to, which is Amandeep in Java Hybris at gmail.com, right? We had sent the same detail, or we had filled the same detail, right, while filling this form, right? Over here, because of this section, you can see if I now click on the reply button, instead of replying to octubejava@gmail.com, instead of replying to this email address, it will reply to Amandeep in Java Hybris at gmail.com. So the next section is key concepts and terminologies, in which we will be primarily discussing what are events and event listeners, what are the benefits of events and event listeners, and then we will also see what is business process and what is the use of business process in the email flow, why we use the business process in the email flow. So we will discuss all these concepts in this section. So let's start with the events and event listeners. Why event and event listeners are used into the email flow. So here you can see, guys, this is event producer, this is event consumer. Between the event producer and event consumer, we have the event and event listeners. If I can show you one sample code, for example, if you see, this is the facade layer, right? So although we will discuss this code in detail in some time, but this is just a glimpse. Here you can see from the facade layer, I am triggering one event. How to configure this event, we will discuss in some time. So here I am triggering an event, right? And in this event, so you can see this is the event Hybris Tube custom email event, right? This event is being listened by the multiple receivers, or this is being received by the multiple listeners. Here you can see this is one listener, Hybris Tube custom email event listener. Second one is Hybris Tube custom email event logging listener. This is the second listener, right? So why we have two listeners? So the first listener, Hybris Tube custom email event listener, what this is doing, this is sending email, right? Sending email to the end user. And what this is doing, Hybris Tube custom email event logging listener, this is basically saving this data into the database. So this means from the facade layer, we just published an event, and then the job of the facade layer is finished. On front end, you will just see a quick message that yes, details have been submitted successfully and the scope of main thread is finished. But in the backend, then multiple processes get started, right? Multiple listeners comes into the picture and they do different work, right? So I hope now you understand that how the event and event listeners help in loose coupling and better code organization, right? So better code organization means for different tasks we have, configured different listeners. From here we just published an event. Now we configured multiple listeners. Whichever the listeners are basically listening for this event, they will be called automatically. For example, here you can see we have configured two listeners. How we have configured two listeners, why these two listeners are only listening for this Hybris Tube custom email event, I will explain you in some time. But this Hybris Tube custom email event is being listened by two listeners, and these two listeners are performing the different tasks. So this means I can safely say that event and event listener concept help in loose coupling and better code organization. Also notice one more thing, guys, here in the current example as well. This is the facade, right? And from facade we just have published the event, and then we have configured multiple listener. One listener is doing one type of task, another listener is doing another type of task, right? Like I told you, this listener is basically sending email to the end user, and this listener is logging these details into our database. Now tomorrow you have another requirement that you want to send this data maybe to SAP CRM system as well, right? So now instead of doing the changes into your core facade layer, right, you can just configure another listener for your another purpose, right? So this means this concept also helps in scalability, right? So you can configure multiple listeners for the same event, and with the events multiple listeners can react to the same event independently. So I hope it is clear to you that if you want to build a scalable application, you should use these event and event listener concept. And tomorrow if you don't want to save these details into the database, right, so instead of modifying the facade layer for each logic change, right, you can just enable or disable the listeners by the spring configuration without changing the facade layer. So this is really good, right? You don't have to touch the core code, you can just disable this listener on dynamic basis. So I can safely say that there are a lot of benefits of using the events and event listeners, and the same is depicted in this diagram as well, that event and event listener help in loose coupling between the producers and consumers. Here producer doesn't know when consumer is going to consume the data, how the consumer is going to consume the data, because all the logic is written within the listener class itself. Similarly, consumer doesn't know when producer is going to produce data. So I hope it is very clear to you what is the use of event and event listeners, that these help in loose coupling, these help in scalability of the application, and there are many other benefits which we are going to see now. So I can say that SAP Hybris leverages an event driven architecture to improve the application performance by decoupling event producers from event consumers, right? However, event listeners in Hybris are not asynchronous by default. They execute within the same thread unless you configure it separately to run in asynchronous behavior, right? So you can use business process to run the whole flow in the asynchronous behavior, or you can create a separate thread pool. But there are a lot of benefits which we saw, like loose coupling, scalability, and other benefits also. So we can safely say the benefits of using events in Hybris. First benefit is decoupling of the components, which we discussed, that how the event and event listeners help in decoupling of producers and consumers. Second benefit is improved maintainability, right? So multiple listeners can subscribe to the same event without modifying the event producer, right? Here in our example also we saw, without modifying the facade we can configure multiple listeners, those can listen to the same event, right? So enhancement and modifications become easier since new logic can be added via additional listeners. We saw this, right? You can configure n number of listeners, or you can remove n number of listeners on dynamic basis. I hope it is clear to you. The third one is better resource utilization when combined with asynchronous processing. If configured asynchronously, example triggering a business process, event processing can be offloaded to separate thread. We will discuss this part in some time, but this prevents blocking the main application thread. So that's what I am stressing again and again, that that is why event and event listener concept we use very frequently in our SAP Hybris applications, because this is used for creating scalable application, right? If you are creating a scalable application, you have to use the event and event listener concepts for your multiple type of tasks, right? It also help in better resource utilization. So how Hybris use the events? Hybris event mechanism is based on the Spring events, right? So these events are published using event service dot publish event method. We saw in the facade layer, we have written this method event service dot publish event, right? Listeners handle the event, but by default they execute synchronously, right? And to achieve the true asynchronous execution, event can trigger a business process which then runs on a separate thread. I will show this part in some time, that how a business process can further improve or further help in making a scalable application, because they can run even on a separate thread. We will see this in some time. But I hope now, guys, you have a good idea about event and event listeners, what are their use, why we use the event listeners. And don't worry, we will create the event and event listener from the scratch in some time, where I will show you how to create event and event listeners, how to configure these newly created listeners, and how we can, create multiple listeners, those can listen to the same event in some order. We will discuss this part in detail in some time. So the next topic is business process. Why we should use the business process concept in Hybris email flow. How the business process helps in improving the application process by making the execution asynchronous. So we will discuss all these points in this section. If I can just start with the front end, you can see this is front end, right? So what I want to show you is that as soon as I will click on this send email to the receiver button, you will see that there will be a instant success message over here that details have been submitted successfully. But in the backend you will find that email will be received to the receiver in some time, because the business process will run on a separate thread, right? That will help in improving the application performance. That's what I want to say. I will just click on this send email to the receiver. So you can see I have just clicked on this button send email to the receiver, and here you can see, a message has come up. But if you see in the server logs, still email is not sent to the receiver, right? Because now a new thread has been started, and now here you can see email is sent right at this point. So which means for the parent logic there was a separate thread, but as soon as, through the event we have triggered the business process, a new business process for sending email, that logic is being run on a separate thread, right? It has nothing to do with the front end, right? Which means front end is running seamlessly, it doesn't have any impact on this email business flow. If the SMT of Gmail is not responding, right, it will not impact the front end application, right? Or it will not impact the performance of the front end. I hope it is clear to you what I am saying. And the same is depicted in this diagram as well. Here you can see from the front end we submit the data, a new thread T1 gets created, right? And flow comes to the controller. From the controller we call the facade, and from the facade we trigger an event, right, using the event service. And that event is being listened by the one of the event listener, right? And then this event listener will directly send a success message to the front end. Plus it also triggers a new business process altogether in a new thread called as T2 thread, right? And in this new T2 thread, this business process which has multiple steps or multiple actions, right, those steps or actions will be executing in a new thread called as T2, which has nothing to do with the T1 thread, which means performance of main application will not be impacted because of this process which is running at a separate thread called as T2. So let's quickly jump into the implementation part of Hybris email sender flow. So it consists of 10 steps. In the first step, we will be creating the data model and data objects in the item.xml file as well as in the facade beans.xml file. We will declare the item types in item.xml file and we will be declaring the data objects in the beans.xml file. So what are the code changes for this? In item.xml file, or to be specific, in training core item.xml file, we will be creating the item type for saving the data into the database and item type for creating the business process model. So what are the changes we have to do in our item.xml file? So we have to go into our training core item.xml file, and within this file I will be declaring the two item types like this. Over here, guys, you can see I have declared the two item type. So the first item type is Hybris Tube email form, right? So in the Hybris Tube emails database table, I will be saving the data which user will be submitting from the front end, right? So these are the attributes which are there in this database table. For example, the first attribute will be the title. Whatever the title user will submit from the front end, we will be storing into our database table. Similarly, there are other attributes as well. For example, name, country, which is of type country. The third one is email, right? It is of type string. Then next is phone number. Then next is from display name, from email, right? And then the custom message. If you see over here, I am even increasing the default length for this custom message attribute. I hope it is clear to you. Next item type is Hybris Tube custom email process, right? So this is the basically the new item type we are creating to store the custom values of business process we will create. You will have more clarity once I will show you the actual implementation. So these are the changes we have to do in our item.xml file. Similarly, guys, we have to declare the data object in our training facade beans.xml file. So you can see I'm going into the training facade beans.xml file, and over here, guys, you can see I have declared the data object as Hybris Tube email form data, right? And you already know why I'm creating this, because then I will be using this, right, in the controller as well as in the facade layer. So you can see, guys, in this data object or in this data class object, I am declaring all these attributes like title code, name, message, country, email, phone number, from display name, from email. And also I have shared all these files on the Google Drive, so you can pick these code snippets from there as well. Right. So after doing these changes, guys, what you have to do, you just have to build your project. If you see now, guys, if you see, for example, if I just show you this Hybris Tube email form, currently we don't have any model object, right? Once I will build the project, then the corresponding model object as well as the corresponding data class will also get created. And how you can build your project, for that you have to go to the bin folder, then you have to go into the platform. Over here you can open the command line like this, then you have to fire the command set ant environment.bat, right? And then you will be firing the command and all to build your project. So you can see I am firing this command and all. This will take some time, this will take around 5 minutes of time. Let's wait for the build to get completed. So guys, now you can see build is successful, and if you see over here as well, you will see that the corresponding data class has also been generated. Similarly, the corresponding model class would have also been generated, right? So I hope, guys, this is clear to you how you can generate the model classes and how you can generate the data classes. Now the next part is creation of custom CMS page with a button to submit the form. As a part of this, guys, we will be creating the custom CMS page, right, which we have to display on the front end. I hope, guys, now it is clear to you how the Hybris email flow works. what are the steps to configure the Gmail as a SMTP, then how the event and event listener works, why we should prefer the use of event and event listeners in the Hybris email flow, and why we should use the business process mechanism into the Hybris email flow. What are the benefits of using the events concept and business process concept? I hope all these concepts are now clear to you. Guys, if you like this video, please share this channel with your friends. Thank you for watching. Bye.